Hey everyone, and welcome to our Georgia Tech student panel today. We're super excited to have all of you on the call with us as we get to discuss some of our history and traditions here at Georgia Tech. Thanks to everyone who submitted questions ahead of time. If you have any questions at any point during the panel or event, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A feature on the Blue Jeans call today, and we'll love to answer all of those as we get going. So before we get started, I guess I can introduce myself, and then the other Toria here will do that. So my name is Jonathan Delozier. I'm a fourth-year aerospace engineering student here at Tech. I'm originally from McDonough, Georgia, so not too far away, only about an hour south of here. Outside the classroom, some of my involvements are undergraduate research. I'm involved in a lot of our music organizations on campus, so I play in our marching band, pep band, and jazz ensemble, and I'm also active in one of our music service organizations. Besides that, I'm involved in one of our leadership organizations here on campus.
Awesome. Hey y'all, my name is Duke. I am a fifth-year computer science major here at Georgia Tech with a minor in law, science, and technology. Outside of tour guides, I'm involved in a lot of different organizations. I'm currently president and founder of a diversity, equity, inclusion organization on campus. I was vice president of a social fraternity here. I was in SGA, I've done research, I've co-opted, interned, studied abroad. I've done a lot on campus. And same with Jonathan. And honestly, if y'all have any questions, even if we don't know the question, we probably know someone who does because we know a lot of people. So yeah, that's just a little bit about me.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, I guess we can go ahead and dive into our first question here. So that is, what is your favorite tradition and why?
You go first.
I can go first.
You go
I actually have a bit of a visual aid for my tradition here, and that is my rat cap. This is a tradition that has been going on at Tech for as long as I can remember. I knew people who went here in like the 50s, 40s, 30s who had rat caps. And what rat caps are is they're a hat that are given to all of our incoming first-year students, kind of to document your first semester here at Georgia Tech. So you put things like your name and your hometown, your major, and your anticipated graduation year on it. But something else that's really cool with it is as the football season goes on that fall, you write all the football scores on it. So I have all of the football games from my first year. Some interesting ones like when Hurricane Irma came through and canceled a game. So we have Irma 1, UCF 0. But it's just a really cool memento of your first semester starting out your time at Georgia Tech. Myself being in the marching band, this is a tradition we really keep up and focus on a lot. We really encourage all of our first-year students to wear their rat caps when they're at practice or when they're at football games, basketball games, and stuff like that. So it's a really cool piece of, I guess, my time here that I like to keep around.
Rat cap is a great tradition. My favorite tradition is probably going to be Happy the dog. So Happy was a dog that was on campus, I want to say in the 90s. And unfortunately, she was thrown from a moving car on campus, and some students found her and took her in and took care of her. And because of the injuries from being thrown from the car, she kind of walked sideways. So she was known as Sideways the dog. And these students would take her around. She kind of became an unofficial mascot, and they would feed her and take her to class. And the kind of unofficial rule was if you brought her into an exam, apparently she was lucky and you would end up getting an A on your exam. So unfortunately, when she passed away, she was buried right next to Tech Tower, and you still go see her grave to this day. And during finals, if you won A's on all of your finals, you go and leave a penny on her grave, and she will give you good luck to go and rock your finals. I've left a penny on her grave twice in my time here at Georgia Tech. In both semesters, I ended with a 4.0, so 100% success rate on my end. Obviously, it's going to work for everyone. That's probably why it's my favorite tradition.
Yeah, sideways is a really cool one too. I definitely every semester am putting pennies. If I really need some luck, maybe sometimes I'll throw a quarter down to really help me out.
Go just leave a dollar bill and say, hey, Sideways, really need the help this year. But
yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have another question that's popped up here in the chat, which is, what is your favorite homecoming event to attend, or would you recommend a first year attend?
I go first. I go first on this one. So obviously, homecoming, full week, tons of super exciting, fun stuff. First off, if there's one thing I would say to do is register for homecoming and get on a homecoming team. So there are a lot of different organizations that participate. So you can participate for a Greek organization, your housing unit, you can participate for your student organization, etc. Just find a way to compete, even if it's just with a group of your friends. Because there's so many different fun events and competitions that week that are great memories. And I'm sure Jonathan has thoughts on that too. In terms of something specific to do, my personal favorite event is the first year cake race. Used to be called the freshman cake race, and it is a very old tradition. Back when Georgia Tech used to be an all men's college, military school, etc. But they would take all of the first year men and they would run a half-mile race very early in the morning. And that tradition has lived on to this day. And originally started when the president's wife would bake a cake for the winner of the race, and that's how it got to be known as the cake race. And now it's most of the first years, and when I say most, the amount of first years that show up to this is insane. It's at like 6 a.m., and I was like, oh, not many people would show up. There's such an energy on campus on the day of the first year cake race where all of the RAs are going around getting their notes, being like, guys, it's time. This is so exciting. And it's such just a camaraderie event. So everyone gets together. You go out, depending on the year. My year, we were out by McCamish, and you just run a half mile with everyone. And of course, there's the group of people at the front who are really experienced runners. They're taking it seriously. They're going for the gold. Then you have the folks in the back like me who are half jogging because it's 6 a.m., but you really want to finish the race. But the awesome thing is once you get to the end, everyone is given a cupcake, so everyone gets their own little mini cake. It's just one of those things that's so strange and oddly tech that I love it. And there's another thing that's strange and oddly tech, which I feel like Jonathan might talk about. But if he doesn't, I'll share that event too. But yeah, I'd probably have to say freshman cake race is my personal favorite homecoming tradition.
Yeah, I love the cake race. As someone who does enjoy getting up and running and stuff like that, I expected to be like the only person up at 5 a.m. excited to like do this thing, but it just blew my mind to see like the entire like first year class out there doing it with me. Um, so that one I definitely do love a lot. I love all the homecoming events. But another one that's really cool is the Mini 500. I have a feeling that maybe the other one Duke was
Yep.
referencing.
Yep.
Yeah, so the Mini 500 is I've never heard of like anything like this anywhere else. It's just crazy. So the Mini 500 is a tricycle race around Peters Parking Deck, which is our parking deck right next to our football stadium over on the east side of campus. And you might think it's a little silly for grown adults to be racing tricycles. And it is. That's kind of the point, I guess. But so they give these teams, whether it's like a Greek organization. I've done it with band before, which is super fun. They give you a
I
tiny
did it
little
with tour
tricycle.
guides.
Yeah. Even like he said, residence halls can do it as well. It's another great way to do it. But they give you a tiny little tricycle, and you can modify it however you want to make it more structurally sound, to actually be able to support the weight of a fully grown human. And it's literally just a race around the parking deck. And you switch off like every lap with who's actually on the tricycle and whatnot. And it even gets more complicated. You have to do an actual like pit stop. You have to take the front wheel off, and you have to rotate it and put it back on. And Georgia Tech students, being Georgia Tech students, like do the most with this race. There's a group on campus that their solely purpose is to win the Mini 500 every single year, and I'm pretty sure they do win the Mini 500 every year. They have this insanely like tricked out, like hyper engineered tricycle that is like super aerodynamic and has all this support on it and everything, and they can just pop the wheel off and change it. It's just like Duke said, one of the most Georgia Tech things ever. And that's a big part of why I love it. I've never heard of anything like it or experienced anything like it anywhere else. And I'm really glad that I've gotten to participate in it in the past. All right. Another question coming in here. Is it true we aren't supposed to touch the wreck during our first year? And why? The answer to that is you absolutely are not supposed to touch the Ramblin' Wreck
Do you just see the
until you
stress
hit.
in my eyes when I heard that? Like, that straight up stresses me out.
Yeah, you cannot touch the Ramblin' Wreck until you have finished finals on the second semester of your first year. I guess some people might be on here or watching this that don't really know about the wreck. Duke, would you like to give some contact on the wreck itself? Excuse me.
Yes, totally. So the Rec is going to be one of our two mascots here at Georgia Tech. We have two mascots, Buzz, who is the yellow jacket that runs around, that you've probably seen on your acceptance email, etc. Then the Rec is the old car that you've seen on a lot of our online materials as well. So it's an old Model 8 sports coupe Ford. It was donated to the school. It's completely maintained by a student organization here on campus. Every year they nominate one person. It's a huge deal to be nominated as the Rec driver, and they're the only person that's allowed to drive the Rec for that year, and it's their primary job to take care of it. It's their child. They replace all of the parts, etc. It's a beautifully maintained car. And so you can see it driving around on campus. You can get rides from it as well. So if you're ever walking across campus and you see it, you can feel free to just ask the driver for a ride. It also leads our football team out onto the field before every game. Usually has about 6 cheerleaders hanging off of it. As the president will be in the back jump seat. There will be some other really cool people, special guests at the game, etc. But it's overall just a really cool piece of history on Georgia Tech's campus. That's also one of our mascots, which is pretty neat. So that's what the Rec is.
Yeah, I will say the Rec, I also think might be biased here, but it's one of the coolest mascots in college football or anything like that. After a football game this past fall, just saw the Rec driving by and waved down the driver, and she took us on 3 victory laps after we just beaten Duke at a night game around campus, and that was the peak of my existence at Georgia Tech. You feel like royalty when you sit in the back of the Rec and you're getting to ride around and wave at everybody.
And
It's
also the
awesome.
electricity in the football stadium, because it leads the team out onto the field. I don't know if you've ever seen a car drive on a football field. It's just a really cool sight, and they go through the tunnel of all of Rec Club is there. They're the ones that maintain the car, and then you also have all the cheerleaders holding up a big banner that drives through every game. So it's just, the energy is electric, and it makes the Star football games so much fun.
Yeah, and I guess to get to the why part of why you are not supposed to touch the Rec. So tradition says that if a first-year student touches the Rec early, then that year we will lose to Duke or worse. It doesn't get much worse, but that is how they say it goes. So I don't know who keeps touching the Rec these past couple years, but they need to calm down. They really need to.
They do.
Oh yeah, yeah. A real fun question in the chat here. It's what's the good word?
To hell with Georgia!
Absolutely.
Taking an exam.
Right on the back of the rack cap. Yeah, so what's the good word, I guess, is a phrase we've had here at Tech for a long time, and kind of a way you can identify Tech fans or Tech alumni all around the world. I've literally been across the country, just in the middle of a grocery store one time, and had a Georgia Tech shirt on. Someone asked me what the good word was, and the only response is to help with Georgia. It's, I guess, a cool way you can kind of pick out a Georgia Tech alumni somewhere else in the world.
It's a good phrase. You're also supposed to yell it. I just half yelled it, then remembered my roommate's taking an exam right now. But I'm sure he won't mind. I'm sure his professor won't mind hearing that in the background. You can hear it pretty consistently, especially on game day. It's fun to just shout it out and hear people's response. So it's a good tradition.
Another question here. I keep hearing about George P. Burdell. Who is he, and how do I meet him?
I can take this one. So George P. Burdell is by far the most accomplished student to ever graduate from Georgia Tech. That totally does exist. So back in the 1900s, a student got 2 physical admissions packets. So this is when you got into Georgia Tech, you literally got a physical admissions packet. They'd have to write down all of your information on and turn in. So he got 2 of them. So he filled out one for himself, and he filled out another one for George P. Burdell, which was a spoof of his principal's name. And so he submitted the submissions packet, paid the fees and everything, and enrolled a fictional student. He then took all of his first-year classes twice, once for himself and once for the student. He turned in 2 assignments. He would get friends to take the second exam, etc. And so after George P. Burdell finished their first semester, he kept their tradition alive, and they found a way to make sure he graduated from Georgia Tech. Now, this tradition has continued on, and George P. Burdell has taken every single class offered at Georgia Tech, has gotten every single major. He has gone on to accomplish many phenomenal things. For instance, if you look on donation boards, he's on a lot of donation boards. He's been advisors for various companies. He's been employed by various companies. And at one point, he was nominated to be Times Person of the Year. He was winning the popular vote. He was going to be Times Person of the Year until they realized that George P. Burdell doesn't actually exist. But he still can be seen around everywhere on campus. For instance, April 1st, I wonder why that day, but April 1st is his birthday every year. And it's a big deal at Georgia Tech. You'll see the rec out and about with birthday cake, cupcakes, etc., candy. Everyone's kind of just celebrating his birthday, which is really exciting. Sometimes you'll see him registered in a class. You'll see him on a lot of example material about all of the cool things he's done both on and off campus. We also have Burdell's, which is kind of an on-campus little bookstore where you can get some cool gear, supplies for class, etc. But yeah, really cool guy. Not sure if you ever want to manage to get a picture with him, though. Jonathan, anything to add to that?
Just that I've been trying to meet him for ever since I came on campus. I've just heard about him. I can't even connect with him on LinkedIn. It's just he's really sought after, but he's been somehow evading my grasp for all this time. All right, another question here. Does Tech do anything special or hold an event for first year students when they start? I guess I can take this one and just speak a little bit. One of the events that happens for first year students right at the beginning of their time here on campus is our first year convocation. So we bring in all of our first year students to McCamish Pavilion, which is our basketball arena where both of our men's and women's basketball teams play. And you get to sit down with all your other first year students. It's where you get your rat cap and you start filling your rat cap out. You get to hear from a lot of our student leaders on campus, whether they're from various organizations like SGA or other cool organizations on campus. You also get to hear from our president, Angel Cabrera, assuming he is still president when you are here at Georgia Tech, will be the one who speaks at your first year convocation. Really just a great way to kind of inspire you to really get going and have a good first step on your time at Tech here. Is there anything you have to add? Any other events you can think of, Duke?
I mean, there's so many different things. We used to have a week of welcome at the beginning of each semester. Now it's actually the month of welcome because there's so many different events they couldn't fit it all into one week and they want to kind of expand it out. First year move-in is also before classes even start, which is really great because it lets you get acclimated to the community, your roommate, your friends, etc., and really starts you off on the right foot. And there's so many events where if you found your community, great, you can go with your friends, hang out, have a good time, or you can just go hang out, do your normal college thing. But even if you haven't found your community yet, there's still events going into the second month of school and throughout the whole year where you can just go meet people, have a good time. And that's one of the great things about college is everyone is looking to meet people. Everyone's looking to expand their circle. And so there really are so many different things I think of. I remember my first year, we had a petting zoo on the first week of school. There's just a camel over by the campanile just chilling. And I remember my friends and I are like, what's going on? So we got a cool picture with that. Usually on like the third week, when the first round of like quizzes or exams are starting, they'll have puppies come in for puppy therapy. And so you can go play with some dogs and meet some cool people there too. So there are tons of different events, but the main one is definitely going to be Convocation in the first week.
Yeah, I will say the welcome week and welcome month, great time to get lots of free food around campus. That was they're always, if you're a first year, they have a million free things to give you during that first month or so on campus. So make sure to take advantage of that. So thanks to everyone who's been submitting questions in the Q&A. Be sure to keep that up if you have anything. Another one we have is, what is the steam whistle on campus? I can take that one. So our steam whistle is one of the oldest traditions, quite possibly the oldest one we've discussed so far with things going on campus. So back in the olden days of Georgia Tech in the 1800s, we used to have two main buildings on campus. Tech Tower, which is still here. It was originally our classroom building. It's now our main administrative building. We had a second building, which was the shop building. The shop building has unfortunately burned down and is no longer with us. But the shop building was where students would spend about half their day actually getting hands-on learning experience as opposed to just sitting in a classroom or in a lecture or something like that. And so the steam whistle would go off and it would tell people, hey, it's time for you to transition from tech tower to the shop building, or vice versa. And so as time has gone on, that's kind of a tradition we have kept doing here on campus. So the steam whistle still goes off during our class changes. I know I was sitting in class in our Pluff building today, and the steam whistle went off, and I was like, all right, it's time for me to leave. My professor needs to stop lecturing. But it goes off at all of our class changes to kind of let you know what time of day it is and everything like that. It also is something that is used during our football games. So every time we score a touchdown, get an extra point, the steam whistle goes off. So hopefully in the fall, it'll be going off about 10 or 12 times a game. That would be ideal. But yeah, Duke, do you have anything to add about the whistle?
Yeah, the whistle is great. It's very loud. It's kind of a very Atlanta thing. If your office is in Midtown, you can still hear it. Personally, I live off campus at this point. I live about a mile from the whistle, and I can still hear it multiple times every day, which is a good little way to keep me connected to Georgia Tech. So it does go off in between every class, and there's a building right next to the whistle, and the guy whose office is right next to it has to schedule his meetings around when the whistle will go off because it's so loud he can't talk on the phone during it. There's a little mini documentary that they made about him scheduling his meetings, and that was very entertaining. Also, something Jonathan mentioned, where the old shop building burned down, there's now a green space. It's probably my favorite green space on campus. It's just a little shady green space. You can see Tech Tower, beautiful view, great spot for headshots because you have Tech Tower right in the background. And you have a perfect view of the whistle too, but it is loud and always goes off for longer than you expect it to, which if you do ever get the opportunity to come visit campus in person, you're over by there and hear a loud whistle, that's what you're hearing. I remember we always used to give tours, and within the first 10 minutes of the tours, it would go off. So I'd always start my tours by explaining, you are going to hear a loud whistle. Everything's fine. Don't be concerned. It happens like 10 times a day. But yeah, it's a great tradition.
Yeah, I love the whistle. It is, you don't love it as much when you're right by it when it goes off, but it is really cool tradition.
It's also very
So
stressful if you're like late to class and you hear the whistle going off. You're like, oh no, time to run.
yeah. So another question has come through the Q&A here. It says, what's the deal with students stealing teas off signs around campus? Can you explain?
Georgia Tech in no way endorses destruction of property or stealing property. That is the official institute answer.
Next question. What's the easiest
Oh,
way to
Burdell
learn the
does
fight?
sell teas though. If you want like a little tea for your desk or anything, Burdell's sells them legally.
There you
That's
go.
an option.
So if you acquire teas only through legal forms when you're on campus. The next question is, what's the easiest way to learn the fight songs? My answer for this would be to go to sporting events on campus and be an active supporter of our athletics teams and your fellow student athletes here. I know me, I've always loved sports, especially since coming to Tech. I've really gotten into football, basketball. I actually pride myself on having been to an event for every single athletic team we have here at Tech. So that is a good way to learn the fight songs right there. Is just go with some friends on a Saturday in the fall or something to a football game and just take the time to enjoy it. And every time we score, you'll be singing White and Gold and you'll be singing Ramble.
Also, they're on YouTube and Spotify, so if you want to learn them going into the school year, you can always do that too. Also, if you ask any older students, I'm sure they'd be happy to sing them for you. If you go to Facet, they'll be sung at Facet. If you go to Welcome Week, you'll hear some random people doing it. Your RA will probably drop stuff in your chat. So it's really, the lyrics are going to be around there. You'll pick it up, I promise you.
Yeah. And I will say, I guess just bouncing back to athletics, since we're on the topic of history and traditions here, we do have a lot of really, really storied athletic programs here at Tech. For example, our football stadium, Grant Field at Bobby Dodd Stadium, is the longest continuously used playing surface in college football. So we literally have been playing right where we are today. It's been longer than literally anybody else. A lot of other really cool stuff too. I mean, you You look at some of our other athletic programs where it's basketball, track and field, baseball. Some of the biggest names in sports history, like Calvin Johnson, Mark Teixeira, basketball guys like Chris Bosh, Mark Price, and everything else. There's just tons and tons of really cool history here at Tech with our athletics program. So I'd encourage you really to support your fellow student athletes, people you may even be in classes with during your time here at Tech. All right. Our next question, is there an event that you make sure you never miss each year?
So there are lots of events that I make sure I don't miss each year. Um, the one that immediately comes to mind is going to be midnight breakfast. So midnight breakfast happens once a semester, right before finals every year, and it's where Georgia Tech faculty will come together and make breakfast at midnight. Really, they serve, I think it's like 8 o'clock to around like 1 or something like that. Because let's be honest, some students have an 8 a.m. the next day. They aren't going to be up at midnight eating breakfast. But so it's usually people like GTVD, so Georgia Tech Police Department, librarians, janitorial staff, like just all of the people you see around campus and you make these connections with. And even if you never actually meet them, you walk by them and smile every day. But so they all get together and make breakfast for students. It's free. You go up, you have your little meal ticket, and you just get some pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage, waffles, etc., cereal. And it's great because you're just sitting there eating breakfast, being like, okay, y'all, we're going to take finals. We're going to do great on finals. We're going to rock finals together. It's just a really positive, good energy for everyone being there together. Also, it's important to remember to eat when you're studying that much. So it's probably one of my favorite traditions because it's really that camaraderie aspect of everyone saying, we're all in this together, to quote High School Musical. We're going to make the most of this. And it's a nice way of the faculty and staff kind of being like, y'all got this. So it's a great way to start finals every year.
Yeah, midnight breakfast definitely is a cool one. I think I may have missed it once, but I really do try and get to that one every semester. For me personally, an event I always try and participate in is our Pi Day or Pi Mile road race here on campus. I guess going back to me liking the obscure running traditions that we have.
Nope.
Here on campus, we actually have a running route marked off around the sidewalks on campus called the Pi Mile, named in memory of Tyler Brown, a former student here at Georgia Tech. And it's instead of the normal 5K distance of 3.1 miles, being Georgia Tech people, we made it 3.14 miles. So it's used for all sorts of races that our campus recreation center puts on all throughout the year. There's one in the fall that's a Halloween 5K where everyone dresses up in their Halloween costume and runs it. And we have other ones like a Christmas one and stuff like that. But every year there's a really big one that's the actual Pi Mile Road Race that's put on by our Alumni Association and our Student Government Association, I believe. And a ton of alumni come back, a ton of people from the Georgia Tech community all come together and just run the race around campus. It's a ton of fun. They always have really cool shirts every year. I always try and collect them. I've got, I guess, 4 now. Maybe we can get 5 by the time I'm done with school here or whatever. But it's a ton of fun. And I definitely recommend, even if you're not big into like walking or running or anything like that, maybe just try one of the more casual ones. Yeah, I mean, if it's not quite your thing, just try it once, worst case scenario, you're on campus, so you can just go back to your dorm at some point if you're not vibing with it. But I really love that one a lot.
Also, that makes me think of one of my favorite, it's not necessarily a tradition, but it's more of kind of just background of Georgia Tech. Everyone at Georgia Tech got here because they're smart in some way, they're driven in some way, and everyone has their kind of thing. I don't want to say we're all nerds, but everyone has a nerdy side here. And that means things like Pi Day, so March 14th, yes, I just had to count that out, so 314. Pi Day is huge at Georgia Tech. Everyone gets excited for Pi Day. Every year, my personal favorite part of Pi Day is the people who run the Georgia Tech Instagram page will set up a scavenger hunt where they have all these little mini pies and they'll post some cryptic clue and a cryptic picture on campus, and students compete to see who can find the person first, and then they get their own little mini pie. And when I say there are people who are sprinting to go find this pie because they want this cherry pie, they are sprinting. It is a competition. I think 2 years ago, this past year we did virtual, but 2 years ago, last time we did it in person pre-COVID, I remember one of my friends went to three of the seven places and they missed out on each one barely. And then by the fourth one, they got it. But that day, I think they gave out over 15 pies. So it's a really great tradition in that aspect. There are other kind of like more nerdy days that I can think of. May 4th, May the 4th be with you if you're a big Star Wars fan. That's usually right around exams. I remember I went in for my final exam in Earth and Atmospheric Sciences. It's a lab class that I took. The professor was wearing a Star Wars shirt. I was wearing a Star Wars shirt. One of the questions on the exam was about the Death Star like hurtling through space or something, and it was just the random nerdy stuff like that that is so fun and so many students enjoy isn't looked down on here, which I really enjoy. Even the 6'5" football players will still make a nerdy joke, which I just love. So that's one of my favorite unofficial traditions.
So we have another question here in the chat asking how many running traditions are there? I promise there are not that many. It's not like you come to Georgia Tech and you're expected to just run all the time everywhere you go. No, really the big ones are the cake race in the fall, and then we do have the Pie Mile Road Race in the spring. Another question we've gotten as well is, so there are two mascots for Georgia Tech. And yeah, like we were talking about earlier, we have the Rec. I know we talked about it a lot. But we have Buzz as well. I guess I can talk some about Buzz. I think one of the coolest things about Buzz is it was started by a student here at Georgia Tech. They went to Six Flags over Georgia, which is like our local like amusement park here in Atlanta, and they had them make a Yellow Jacket costume. And they showed up to a home football game one week with the Yellow Jacket costume on, and they ran onto the field. I'm not saying you should run onto the football field. There is lots of security, so stuff like this doesn't happen anymore. But they ran onto the field in the Yellow Jacket costume they had made. And as the story goes, the cheerleaders kind of looked at Buzz and thought it was the band, and they didn't say anything. And the band assumed it was the cheerleaders, and so the band didn't say anything. And so it just happened. Buzz ran around the field, and the band loved it, the cheerleaders loved it, the students loved it. All the fans loved Buzz. And they later found out that it was just a student who'd done it on their own. And because everybody loved it so much, they decided to make that an official part of Georgia Tech athletics. So ever since then, Buzz has been at all of our sporting events and more. I was eating lunch outside on campus at Tech Green the other day, and Buzz was just running around with a cowboy hat on, putting the cowboy hat on people and giving them high fives. You never know what you're going to get with Buzz, besides the fact that it's going to be something fun and it's something funny.
The way I love to explain it is, yes, we have two mascots. We have the Wreck, which is a really cool car. It's technical. It looks cool. It's maintained by students. It's fun and everything. And then you have the lovable mascot that you can go and hug and give high fives to and runs around all day and runs in classes and stuff. So you have both mascots, twice the fun, twice the love. I really like it.
Yeah, it's definitely cool. I love them both equally. Another question has come in here, and it says, do big events happen on Tech or at Tech Green or anything?
No. So ironically, my first year, Tech Green was being redone. So underneath Tech Green, there is a massive cistern that collects all of the rainwater on campus and actually provides the water to a lot of our campus, and all of the water to the Clough building, which is right next to Tech Green. And so they had done maintenance on that, redid all of the drainage systems, and replanted all of the grass. So they had little signs that said tiny grass is sleeping, and they kind of became a big tradition on campus of people now say tiny grass is sleeping and anytime grass is like dead. So it was closed my first year. We had events everywhere else. For instance, a lot of the first year events were either in the first year quad over on East Campus or over on West Campus in the Burger Bowl. There are a lot of events at McCamish as well, which is our basketball stadium. A lot of the larger events will be at Bobby Dodd's or our football stadium. For instance, I'm going to a graduation celebration because I graduate this semester. Every year, the president has a president's graduation celebration at the football stadium at Bobby Dodd, where you get refreshments, you hang out, you take pictures with Buzz and the Rec, the cheerleaders. You really just celebrate that you're graduating. So events like that are usually held there. Some events and traditions, smaller ones, are held in major specific buildings. I know the COC has a lot of fun little random traditions. So it really depends on what tradition is being held. Once the new student center is done being built, I'm sure a lot of things will be held there as well. That's generally where things like midnight breakfast is held. So to answer your question, no, not all big events happen on Tech Green. It really depends on what the event is.
Yeah, definitely lots of events going on around campus all the time. And they're not, like all at Tech Green. We do have some big ones there though. I know we had the homecoming concert there my first year, which is pretty cool. So, assuming things are back on campus for that again in the fall, that'll probably be at Tech Green again. Maybe it'll be in McCamish. I know it was there one semester too. So stuff is always happening all around campus, not just.
Also, not just on campus, there are also events happening off campus. Two of my favorite traditions every year, one happens in the fall and one happens in the spring. But we have, I think, yes, in the fall, we have Georgia Tech Night at Six Flags, where Georgia Tech will bus students out to Six Flags at night. And so it's literally just Georgia Tech students. You are walking onto roller coasters, hanging out with friends, eating popcorn, having a good time. One of my friends rode a roller coaster right next to Buzz. Yes, Buzz will get on these roller coasters with you, which is just show me another college mascot that will ride roller coasters. So that's great. No lines for anything. Amazing experiences. I'm from Orlando, so I'm used to theme parks, but I had never been to Six Flags before. And I went my first time as a first year, and it was like in the first month of school. That was great. Alternatively, in the spring, we have Georgia Tech Night at the Aquarium, where we rent out the Georgia Aquarium just for students. And again, it's great because you're just walking around, hanging out with friends, watching the dolphin show, looking at all of these cool fish, literally just hanging out with tech students. And there's no one there. Personally, I just went with my friends. If you've never been to the Georgia Aquarium, there's this massive tank with all these big manta rays and fish and some sharks and all of these cool things. And there's just a viewing area where you can literally just lay down and stare at the fish for hours. So that's what my friends and I did. We had a great time. And those are probably two of my favorite big events that happen off campus every year.
Yeah, those are definitely great events and ones to make sure you get to take part of during your time here at Tech. So I think this will be our last question for the day before we kind of wrap things up. And it is, how do you become the rec driver or buzz? I guess I can start with how you become buzz, which is that it's done through the cheerleading team. But for the most part, it's a very secretive process. Part of the thing with Buzz is nobody knows who Buzz is while they are Buzz. I know, like me being in band, traveling with the football team and cheerleaders, stuff like that, I try and figure it out. I'm like, all right, there's only so many people on this plane. Which one of y'all is Buzz? But really, it's kept completely secret. The only way you find out that someone was Buzz at some point was that when they graduate and they're at convocation, I mean, not convocation, graduation, excuse me, instead of walking across the stage like normal, Buzz will run up and give them a piggyback ride across stage. And so that's how they kind of reveal to people that they were Buzz at some point during their time at Tech.
Also, there are very strict height requirements on Buzz. I'm not saying I'm 3 inches too tall to try out, but I'm 3 inches. But it's fine. I'm not still sad about that. I never looked into it. Next, rec drivers. So to be a rec driver, you have to be in rec club. So rec club is going to be one of the larger, more prestigious organizations at Georgia Tech. They maintain a lot of the traditions here on campus, as well as maintaining the actual rec. So they have people that are mechanics. They have people that are mainly focused on traditions. They run homecoming week, so they're very involved during that week. And to join, am I still connected? I just got a note saying I'm not connected. You can still hear me? Cool.
Yeah.
So they're very involved that week, and to join, you have to go through a full process, an interview process, etc. So you really need to know the traditions at Georgia Tech, fight songs, etc. Again, some of that process can be a little bit secretive. That being said, it is a larger organization. I don't know the exact number. I want to say about 40 or 50 members any given year, ranging the gambit from second semester first years all the way up to fifth years. And so to be the driver of the rec, you have to be nominated and voted in by Rec Club. So it's a huge honor. People run for the position and get chosen. And usually the people that are chosen really do have a passion for the school. They have a passion for the rec. They have a passion for their traditions. Personally, I've known 3 of the last 5 rec drivers, and I can say without a doubt, when I think of Georgia Tech, I think of them. They are just such genuine, good, intelligent, passionate individuals who care about other students, care about the school and its traditions, and they deserve to be the driver. They all get to choose their own little ornament, and it's a really big deal, so strongly would recommend. Also, last little tradition thing on the rec that I like to share. On the front of the wreck, there are 2 flags. One of those flags was brought up to the International Space Station. Each astronaut that goes to the ISS does get to bring one personal item with them, and one of them was a Tech grad. Georgia Tech actually, I think we still hold the record for most active astronauts who have been to the ISS of any school, which is pretty neat. And he took the flag with him, and now it's back on the wreck, which is really cool. But that's how you become the wreck driver. Really cool opportunity there.
As an aerospace engineer, the red flag getting taken to space and then coming back, and I was at the game when he presented it back to Georgia Tech. I was literally like 5 feet away from him. That was one of the coolest moments of my life. But yeah, thanks so much to everyone who submitted questions during our panel today. I know I myself had a ton of fun talking about Georgia Tech history and traditions and whatnot for y'all today. Before we go, though, something we like to do with any of these tour guide type events is we like to end with telling you a little bit about why we ourselves decided to come to Georgia Tech. Duke, would you like to go first with that?
Yeah, I can totally go first. So like I said, I did come from Orlando. I was looking at a lot of different schools, everything ranging from small liberal arts colleges up in the Northeast to large public schools in the South. And eventually what I realized is I love sports, I love school spirit, I love camaraderie, and I really needed a school that was going to have that school spirit. And that was just simply lacking from a lot of the schools I was looking at, some of the larger schools. When it comes to size, I was also looking for a school that was big enough where I could find my own community, but small enough where I didn't feel like I was drowning in a sea of students and just another face. And when I was looking at schools, Georgia Tech kept coming up in conversation. People kept asking, oh, I have an uncle that went to Georgia Tech. Yeah, my sister went to Georgia Tech for a master's. You should go check it out. And eventually kind of turned to my mom and said, okay, you know what? Kind of interested in computer science. I've heard good things about the program there. Let's go visit. And we were walking around campus on my tour, and her and I had this same moment where we kind of just turned to each other and said, this is it. This is my home. It's where I belong. When I was looking around campus, I saw students that I identified with. I said, I can see myself hanging out with them. I remember walking through the student center when I was getting lunch with my mom and hearing students just offhand talking about engineering. And I was like, hey, that's so cool. And it came down to a culture fit. I was also talking with students, and I really wanted to know, I heard, Georgia Tech is a very competitive engineering program. Is it going to be too hard for me? And I was genuinely scared if I was smart enough. And I went and talked with some students, and immediately they just talked about how collaborative the environment was. It really isn't cutthroat. Everyone that's in a class is there because they want to succeed, and the professors want you to succeed, and they want you to succeed together. So when I was talking with students, and they were sharing about how, they were working together and collaborating on things and not just fighting to be the best, that's when I realized, oh, this is an environment where I could actually see myself thriving in. So that's ultimately why I came to Georgia Tech, and I have not regretted it ever since. I have to say I've learned so much more since I've gotten here, and it's just made me even happier with my decision. I think I ended up in the perfect place. I'll actually be returning in August for my master's program. I'm getting my master's in cybersecurity from Georgia Tech. When I was applying for my master's program, I do a lot of work in the cybersecurity and privacy field to the point where I'm actually familiar with a lot of professors at various institutions through conferences. And many of them encouraged me to apply to their other programs. I applied to a single program, Georgia Tech's, because I don't want to leave. That's how much I love the school. I want to eventually become a professor here. So I have not regretted it since, but that is my story of why I came here and why I stayed here.
And I think for me, when I was looking for colleges, I was not really exactly sure where I wanted to go. I knew what I wanted to do. I was pretty dead set on aerospace engineering, but I was kind of looking all around the place. I was looking at a lot of schools like University of Alabama, Huntsville, like Auburn, Tennessee, schools all throughout the Southeast. Um, I really wasn't sure what I wanted to go. I started kind of taking tours everywhere, and I started kind of making a list of things I wanted in a college. And it came down to I want to be able to have real world opportunities while I'm in college. So things like research, the ability to intern or co-op. If I decide to do anything like that, I wanted that opportunity to be available. As silly as it may sound, I wanted to go to a college where like there were sports teams and I could go and watch football and basketball and baseball. It's just a huge part of like me and like my hobbies and stuff like that. So I wanted a place like that. I wanted a place that was strong academically. I really wanted to push myself in the classroom. And most of all, I wanted to find a place where I could pursue all of my interests outside the classroom as well, mainly music, marching band, and stuff like that. And so as I kind of went around and toured various schools, I found a lot that seemed to really check one or two boxes, maybe even three. But of all the places I toured, all the places I looked at online, all the places I had conversations about with other people, Georgia Tech was the only place I found that I felt gave me just like the perfect, like well-rounded college experience for what I wanted. And I've absolutely been able to find every bit of that since I came to Tech as well. I have been able to take classes from some of the most accomplished professors in the world, sitting next to some of the smartest college students in the world. I've gotten to do research in 3 different labs across campus in areas that literally no other school in the United States is doing. I've gotten to intern a couple of times with companies that are Fortune 500 companies and stuff like that. And I've been able to go, like I said, the football games, the basketball games, and be a part of marching band and really find my family through organizations like that, and really been able to enjoy myself outside the classroom as well. And I guess similarly to Duke, I'm so glad that I came to Georgia Tech. I don't like exaggerate this at all when I say it. I literally cannot imagine myself at any other school anywhere else in the world. I just have loved Georgia Tech so much. I guess also similarly to Duke, I will be coming back for round two with a master's in the future. And I, once again, like him, I literally did not apply anywhere else. This place has been my home for the past 4 years, and I'm excited to keep calling it home in the future and get to say for the rest of my life that I'm a Ramblin' Wreck from Georgia Tech and a hell of an engineer. And that's something that's really, really awesome to me. But yeah, thanks again to everyone who joined our call today. For anyone watching the recording, I hope it was beneficial and you got to learn some through that as well. I hope you'll have a great afternoon, and thanks so much for visiting Georgia Tech virtually today.